like the bankers to hear a bit about. Thank you, Simon.
Didier, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take a few minutes of your time, no more than 10 if I can manage it, to consider a topic which is of considerable relevance today to ship owners, shipyards, and to ship owners, financiers. The problems that can arise in enforcing shipbuilding contract refund guarantees. I don't want to reiterate what other speakers have said. We all know about the global financial crash that's affected shipbuilding values and new ship values since 2008. That change in the financial and economic environment has led to an extremely important re-evaluation of the importance of refund guarantees in the context of shipbuilding projects. As you all know, refund guarantees are designed to cover the buyer's credit risk associated with paying part, sometimes as much as 80% of the contract price prior to delivery. In the event that the buyer is entitled to cancel the contract, the refund guarantee is designed to provide security for the repayment of the installments and interest if the shipyard doesn't perform. So refund guarantees are the financial cornerstone of the shipbuilding project and extremely important instruments. Their importance has obviously increased massively in the period since the financial crash. I'll skip through these slides in the interest of time because I think you know most of it. The emergence of the financial problems since 2008 has obviously highlighted a great deal of attention upon refund guarantees and the particular deficiencies and problems that are associated with their enforcement. And what I wanted to do this morning was to look at some of the particular types of problems that arise in the context of refund guarantees, which are not always fully appreciated by ship owners and their financiers. There are essentially four problems that I believe are most prominent in terms of the enforcement of refund guarantees. The first of which is the issue of the scope of coverage. This is, in my view, by far the most significant issue. The problem and the deficiency that these guarantees are subject to is that the obligation on the part of the refund guarantor is to refund only against cancellation of the shipbuilding contract, strictly in accordance with its express terms. Most of the refund guarantees issued in Korea, Japan, China, and most other major shipbuilding countries provide that the refund guarantee responds if the installments become payable pursuant to an express cancellation of the contract in accordance with its express terms and not otherwise. Now, to my constant surprise, this limitation is pretty much misunderstood by a significant number of ship owners, many of whom think that the refund guarantee will make sure that they get their money back in almost all circumstances in which the ship isn't built for them. I think they accept that if they default, then they don't perform their obligations, they may not get all of their money back, but they expect that in all other circumstances, if they don't get the ship, they're going to get their money. And sadly, that is not the position, necessarily the position under all refund guarantees. In particular, if you're in a position where you wish to exercise other than contractual rights, in other words, you wish to issue English common law rights to terminate a shipbuilding contract, it's very likely that the shipbuilding contract the refund guarantee will not respond. And we've had many instances where owners have come to us saying, look at this shipyard, it's doing this, it's not performing its contractual obligations, we want to get out now. And we've had to say to them, well, look at the refund guarantee. It doesn't cover you if you choose to treat the yard in repudiatory breach, in serious breach of the contract, and terminate under common law principles. A quick example, last year we were instructed on behalf of an Italian owner from a place not far from Naples. He was building two ships in China, small bulk carriers, English law shipbuilding contracts, English law refund guarantees. He paid the signing installment and the steel cutting installment, following which he discovered that the builder was actually building different ships from those which had been contracted to be built. The builder couldn't meet the guaranteed deadweight under the shipbuilding contract, and completely off his own bat and without telling either the owner or the classification society, he was starting to build ships to a different design, which he thought would be sufficient to meet the requirements of the contract. Now, clearly a very serious breach of contract, clearly an entitlement on the part of the owner to terminate the contract at that stage. The Italian owners came to us and said, we're going to cancel next week. And we said, hold on, think about it. This Chinese shipyard can't possibly repay to you these installments. It doesn't have the financial worth to do that. You're going to have to ensure that you get yourself within the terms of the refund guarantee. And you're going to have to wait through the whole process of construction of the vessel till 180 days after the contractual delivery date, and then cancel the contract in order to make a claim under the refund guarantee. I also had to tell them, to their complete amazement, that there was a possibility that they would have to continue to pay the installments of the contract price as these fell due during the course of construction in order to safeguard the 2 installments they'd already paid. When I told them that, I can only describe their reaction as similar to those of I'd expect if Italy lost to San Marino in a World Cup qualifying game. It was very, very negative. Of course, this is a particular problem where the guarantee is about to expire and it's impossible to terminate the contract in accordance with its terms before that expiry date. The second major area of concern in relation to refund guarantees is automatic termination of the shipbuilding contract. Under many shipbuilding contracts in the standard Korean, Japanese and Chinese forms, a total loss, such as a fire, as we can see here, leads the contract to come to an end unless the parties can agree terms for its reinstatement. That situation is typically not covered by a standard form refund guarantee. It's not a termination of the contract in accordance with its express terms by the purchaser, and it's not covered by the refund guarantee. There's another problem in relation to frustration of contracts. This has become a really hot topic in relation to Korean new buildings since the sinking of the South Korean corvette Cheonan by a North Korean submarine in March of this year. We've had numerous clients with projects in Korea who've been asking us questions about this, and we've had to say to them that there is a small risk that in circumstances in which the shipbuilding contract permits termination only in accordance with its express terms, and the refund guarantee only responds to that type of termination, that if the contract were to be frustrated by the commencement of a war between North Korea and South Korea, that the refund guarantee would not ensure performance of the repayment of the installments. Frustration in English law applies automatically to bring the contract to an end where performance is impossible and the parties have not properly provided for it in the contract. And frustration of a contract, if the shipyard was to say, I can't perform this, my shipyard's been bombed, or the South Korean government has imposed an embargo upon performance of this contract, that will potentially frustrate the shipbuilding contract, and it's not a risk that's covered by the refund guarantee. There are also problems that we see, practical problems to do with variation of the underlying shipbuilding contract. There's a very clear principle of English law that you cannot vary the underlying terms of a contract without discharging the guarantor of that contract, unless the variation is obviously to the benefit of the guarantor. So if you want to change the shipbuilding contract, in principle, the refund guarantee will be discharged. Now that situation is dealt with in many circumstances by providing in the guarantee itself language which says that any variation of the underlying shipbuilding contract will not discharge the refund guarantor. But you wouldn't believe, I suspect, the number of times we have owners coming to us with refund guarantees that they have taken for projects that are significantly advanced and for which they've paid in a lot of money, where the language of the guarantee does not allow them to make changes. They've agreed to extend the delivery date, and they are potentially at serious risk that the refund guarantee has been discharged by that circumstance. The fourth area of problems that we see are non-compliance with formalities. This is very country specific, but there are many countries in which
The bell is ringing.
Okay, where guarantees must be subject to certain formalities, and those have not been fully complied with at the time when the guarantees were taken out. Practical advice, the principle of caveat emptor must apply. It's extremely important in this context not just to check the contract, delivery terms, the price, the termination rights under the contract, the delivery dates, the force majeure clause. It's important also to look at the terms of the refund guarantee. These are very dangerous instruments in my view. We see lots of problems, and you need to get the advice that you receive covering the refund guarantee coming from a very specialist source. And this is the home of one firm of specialist lawyers who can help you in this. And this is a specialist shipbuilding lawyer after a particularly hard fight with a refund guarantor. Thank you very much indeed.